So, good morning. I am Joyce It has been my honor and delight to serve as your assistant minister for almost 15 years. Can you believe it? 15 years. So, Dr. Edward is in France and left me with this topic. How long have you got? You know, the funny thing was, when I was trying to decide, well, where should we start with this? All I could think of was The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. You remember that? If you don't know it, it's this zany sci-fi written in the 80s by Douglas Adams, British comedic writer. And at one point in the story, there's a description of this planet where the people are so tired of bickering about the meaning of life that they construct this super duper gigantic, intelligent, super duper computer, and they go to it and they ask it, they say, can you tell us the ultimate answer to life, the universe, and everything? And the computer says, you want the ultimate answer to life, the universe, and everything? I can do that. It'll take a while. And it closes itself down. 7.5 million years later, the descendants of the people who had asked the computer for the ultimate answer to life, the universe, and everything went to it and said, do you have the ultimate answer? It said, yes, I do. The ultimate answer to the life, the universe, and everything is 42. Now, they didn't know what to make of this. Of course, they were disappointed. And the computer said, you know, I have checked it and rechecked it and rechecked it. It's absolutely 100% accurate. The ultimate answer to life, the universe, and everything is 42. What you need to come up with is the ultimate question to which the answer is 42. And so off goes the plot in a gazillion zany other directions. And so with this topic today, the other thing I thought about is, you know, if I showed this to my great-grandfather back in Central Europe, it would have been a no-brainer for him. He would have said, oh, clearly, you know, God created the universe. There's this thing called God, and it creates things, and one of the things it created was the universe. There used to be that, this is old thought theology, right? So there was an image of a potter making a pot on a wheel, and the idea was that the potter was God and the pot was the universe. Well, we've come a ways since then in our thinking, many of us. In fact, not too long ago, I saw a show that was hosted by physicist Stephen Hawking. And Hawking said that we now have enough information, proof, and mathematical theoretical explanations to demonstrate that the universe exists without the need of an outside creator. So, poof, there goes my great-grandfather's worldview. However, I say, bravo, science. Science has caught up with what we metaphysicians believe, what Hindus have known for millennia, which the thing that sages and mystics have agreed upon forever, which is that God is not outside. Yes, Stephen Hawking, it is true what you concluded. There was no outside force that created the Big Bang. God was the Big Bang and everything that has come from it. God is not outside of us. God is inside its own creation. It's inside of each of us, who and what we are. Incidentally, many of us, including myself when I first came to the center, find that word God a little problematic. It has some possible baggage with it from previous understandings of theology where the idea of God was more limited and almost abusive. So as I've been at the center, I've gotten more comfortable with this word as well as many other words that we use to refer to this infinite all that is, words like spirit, the divine one, beloved. What's your favorite word? And would you be comfortable just kind of whispering it to your neighbor? Ooh, what a field of blessing we've just created, my goodness. So far, we've been talking about the universe as a physical thing, but there's another way that the word universe is used. Have you ever heard someone say, or maybe you've said it yourself, well, I can't figure it out, I'm going to release it to the universe. So I think what that statement is about, I know what I feel when I use it, is that I don't have the capacity right here in this little bit of the universe. I don't have the capacity to work it out. So I'm going to turn it over to the hugest thing I can think of. I'm just going to release it to the great all that is, and the word I'm using right now is universe. I think that's one way that it's used. The other way is to say that it's a recognition in saying, I'm turning this over to the universe, it's a recognition that the universe is not only physical, but it's also spiritual. It is a spiritual ecosystem where everything is connected. Holmes tells us this. Spiritual wisdom says that God manifests through everything and is in all of us, that all is divinity, and that nature herself is the body of God. All is divinity, and nature herself is the body of God. Both the divinity of the spirit and of the physical body. He also says that out of eternal being comes everlasting becoming. Out of eternal changeless being comes that ever-changing becoming. And this might be a good point to remind us of what's contained in our teaching symbol. This symbol came about because once Ernest Holmes was teaching about the creative process of God, and he drew a big circle and he said, well, we have to start with this circle because God is everything. Everything is contained within God. There's nothing outside of it. And although God is one, there are three aspects that we can talk about, and that's why he drew those lines. The top aspect represents the Spirit of God, the thought of God. The middle section represents the creative medium of God, and the bottom section represents form, the body of God. So the thought of God impacts the creative medium of God, resulting in a form, like a tree. Out of eternal being comes everlasting becoming. Well, great. Now we know how God and the universe works. But what does this have to do with us? Well, absolutely everything, because we are, each one of us, a part of this great thing. Right here in time and space, you and I are a complete part of this complete whole. And everything we've said about the Divine One is true for us. We are simultaneously physical and spiritual. Our thought is creative. We are eternal being in the process of everlasting becoming. You are eternal being in the process of everlasting becoming. Life after life after life after life, always expanding into greater good. Holmes wrote, "Everything that lives proclaims the glory of God. Every person who exists manifests the life of God. There is one spirit in which we live, one mind by which we think, one body of which we are a part, and one light that lights everyone's path. One spirit in which we live, one mind by which we think, one body of which we are a part, one light that lights everyone's path." So that symbol that we use to describe the divine creative process is also true for us. We have thoughts which get placed into the creative medium of the Divine One, resulting in shaping the experiences of our lives. Thoughts impacting creative medium, resulting in experiences. One way to remember this process is Holmes' favorite metaphor was the seed, the soil, and the plant. So if you plant a tomato seed into that creative soil, it's going to give you a tomato plant. It's not going to give you a carrot. He would very fondly repeat this. The point is, if we look at our lives and we see something we don't like, we don't have to beat ourselves up and say, "Oh, God, what was I thinking?" All we have to do is start to think the kind of thoughts that we would like to put into the creative medium to bring about the experiences we would like. This month's book, The Power of Oneness, does an absolutely brilliant job in detailing the process by which this universal oneness results in our creative potential right where we are. I want to share a quote, but I have to tell you I'm not sure it comes from that book, but it came from one of the books I was reading about oneness. All of creation is inextricably connected to a unified field of love, which is so vast, so kind, so accepting, so generous, so responsive, that it transcends human explanation. All of creation is inextricably connected to a unified field of love, which is vast, kind, accepting, generous, responsive. So we are, of course, now considering God and the universe as a spiritual ecosystem where everything is interconnected and everything has an effect on everything else. We've had some great talks the past few months. Dr. Edward, Reverend Ruth, Reverend Tara, great job of inspiring us to notice this unity of all life and the connection of human community. If you missed any of them, they are, of course, on our website. Beautiful talks. I'd like to share with you one of my favorite quotes about interconnectedness that comes from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. It really boils down to this, that all life is interrelated. We are all caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied into a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. I can never be what I ought to be until you are what you ought to be. This is the interrelated structure of reality. And the wisdom from that previous quote, all of creation is inextricably connected to a unified field of love, which is vast, kind, accepting, generous, responsive. So many of us know about the responsiveness of this field. There's been so many of us who have used prayer, prayer for ourselves, prayer from another person, writing a prayer request, and we know, we have proof that this way of activating the universal medium, creative medium, does get a response. But how do we know that this vast field of love is generous? Well, logically, because it is everything, it means that everything is already present. And because you and I are part of it, it means that right where you and I are, we have access to all of it. The gift has already been given. Everything is available. It's our job to open up to receive it. The answer is 42. What's the question? It's all right here for us. How do we open up to receive it? Because we are in this spiritual ecosystem, it also means that if we pick up any strand, we'll find that it's connected to everything else. If we pick up any strand, we will find the source of all creation. We can contemplate any aspect of creation, and in a very real way, what we are doing is contemplating and getting to know God itself. And so, in an interesting way, we could spend time thinking about 42. And it would ultimately lead us to the infinite one. However, I think it's more fun, more interesting, more immediately engaging to do what monks and nuns and sages and wise people from all ages have done, which is to put our attention on becoming more aware of ourselves, more aware of who we truly are, more aware of the other people around us and who they truly are, as a way to get to know the Divine One. As we open up to knowing ourselves better, knowing each other better, we become aware of that infinite ocean of good within which we live and move and have our being. We get to know that, as the choir sang, that eternal river of life that is flowing through us, taking form as us. As our closing spiritual practice today, before we go into a few moments of silence, I want to share with you a practice that I turn to, which is reciting 33 names for the Divine One. I was inspired by the Islamic practice where Muslims have 99 names for God, which they recite. 99 was a little more than I could memorize, so I started with 33, and then I get to say it 3 times. I'm sure this list will change. For now, I just invite you to relax and to listen to these names. Perhaps one or more of them will resonate with something in you that is ever expanding into the greater yet to be. All embracing, all that is absolute, boundless joy, beloved, beyond the beyond, closer than breath, divine essence, eternal presence, first cause, creative force, ground of all being. Great Spirit, Holy of Holies, illuminated intelligence, indestructible, ineffable, intangible. I am. Lover of my soul, keeper of my spirit, infinite ocean of good, living Spirit Almighty, love everlasting, omnipresent peace, omnipotent, all-powerful love, omniscient, all-knowing friend, seen and unseen, source of all life, Spirit within, transcendent oneness, ultimate reality, whole, perfect, and complete. And as we know ourselves more and more to be living in this vast field of love, as we open ourselves more and more to allow it to express in, through, and as us, I welcome for each of us an ongoing higher and higher expression of the good of life for ourselves and for all around us. And for this, I'm grateful. Amen. I invite you to begin to bring your spiritual awareness to this immediate spiritual ecosystem in which we are participating today. You've probably noticed that this month, at this point, before the offering, Dr. Edward has taken a couple minutes to talk about the things that we have to be grateful for at the center that we have created together. The main focus of my ministry is spiritual support, so that's what I'd like to tell you a little bit about right now. And as I'm speaking, you will see that there are some baskets being passed that have spiritual support cards in them. So, for example, there's a telephone prayer ministry that you can call 24/7 to either speak to somebody live or to leave a message. And last year, the volunteers in that ministry responded to 444 calls. Then there's our grief and loss support group, which meets every Sunday at 12:45 in room 8. It's available if you're experiencing a loss of a loved one, a pet, a job, a relationship, a house. Usually, there's between 2 and 5 people who attend to get spiritual upliftment during such a difficult time. Last year, the total number of attending the group was 94 people. And of course, there's our Heart and Hand Spiritual Care Group, which is available to visit you if you're in the hospital or if you're stuck at home for a while. Last year, the Heart and Hand Ministry made 309 calls and visits. And as you know, the practitioners pray between services in Grinton Chapel. Last year, they provided 1,638 prayers. And perhaps you've had the opportunity to put in a prayer request, write a prayer request. Those go confidentially to practitioners, and between those written requests and the online requests we got last year, we confidentially prayed for approximately 3,640 prayers. In addition, of course, you can listen to an inspirational message when you call Dial-A-Thought. You can read one of 200 treatments for various conditions on our website. The little card that's coming to you lists all these resources that are available to you, and if you go onto our website, you can find them under Resources. It's a new website, a new tab. It used to be called Support, now it's called Resources. I also want to share a bit of news of 2020. Come April 30th, I'll be retiring from my official position on staff as a minister. Get the card, get the card. Spiritual support for all of us. You can imagine what I've been going through. The thing is, though, I realize you'll still be seeing me around. They might even invite me to speak. Who knows? Thank you. I'm just going from a paid person with specific have-to-do duties to a free minister at large who can pick and choose how she wants to be in this community. But, of course, it does mean that we do need someone to step into overseeing spiritual support systems. So it's really good that in order to help things grow and thrive in 2020, so many of you have already turned in your 2020 giving intention forms. As you know, it helps the staff plan, and it also, for each of us who do it, it's a wonderful abundance, prosperity growing process by which we bring order and intention and generosity into our personal finances. A final reminder that, I'm trying to show you the gifts, but they're not here. A final reminder that the amount is not important. If you give $1 a week, that's wonderful. Just fill out a card telling us you intend to give $1 a week next year. And of course, when you turn in the card, you get a book that has an affirmation for every day next year, as well as a ticket to a very exclusive free concert here.